Hello everyone, this is MJ. I hope you all are doing well. So today we are going to look about the software testing lifecycle STLC. So for that I have created a simple explanation about that and I have prepared complete notes about that with an example. So friends, what is STLC? STLC means software testing lifecycle. So it is a step-by-step process followed by the QA or tester to test the software in a structured way. So it ensures the software quality, reduce the bugs and save the time and cost. It includes six main phases from understanding the requirement to closing the test lifecycle. So overall, STLC means software testing lifecycle, and life cycle, this testing lifecycle is for testers or QA. They are following this life cycle while automating or testing any kind of application, any kind of software product. So it is a step by step process. So whenever you are doing any kind of a testing of the application, this process helps us to find the bugs, and this process helps us to save time, increase the flexibility and efficiency of our application. So hence we are following the STLC. So, in short, STLC is a systematic way to software to make sure it's working correctly before the releases. Testing is the just before phase of deployment. Whenever deployment is going to happen, before that, tester needs to complete the all testing regarding the application or regarding the print of the particular application. So see guys, previous video we have looked about SDLC and now we have going through the STLC. So what is the difference between SDLC and STLC? So in SDLC, meaning of SDLC means like software development life cycle, where STLC means software testing life cycle. In SDLC, we are mainly focused on whole software like building, test, and deployment. But in SDLC, we are mainly focused on the testing process only. There is a nothing part involved about the development, little bit, but we don't care about the internal working or internal coding part of the software. So in SDLC, we have requirement, design, development, testing, development, deployment, and maintenance. But in the testing, we will have requirement analysis, test planning, test case development, environment setup, test execution, and test closure. So this is the phases we are going to look as part of the STLC. Owned by. So owned by means in SDLC, developer and project team is the responsible for the SDLC. Even inside that, testers are available because in the SDLC, testing is the part of the STLC. But in the STLC, developers are not involved. Only QA or testers are involved as part of the STLC. The main goal of SDLC is building work software or building working and reliable or uh, flexible application. Where in STLC we have to validate the quality or verify the quality of the software. Both can work together. STLC happens inside the SDLC during and after the development. So STLC is the part of SDLC. That things you need to keep in mind. In SDLC, testing is the one phase, and for that testing, one separate life cycle which is called a software testing life cycle. I hope that much you are understanding. Now, we are going to see about the phases of SDLC. So, in SDLC, there are six phases: requirement analysis, second one is test planning, Third one is a test case development. Fourth one is a test environment setup. Fifth one is a test execution. And sixth one is a test cycle closure. So see friends, there are six stages as I mentioned in the STLC. First one is a requirement analysis. So requirement analysis, like we can understand what to test. Inside the requirement analysis, we have to read and analyze the software requirement document, which is SRS. In previous video, I have explained about the SRS, but here I want to add bit about the SRS. SRS means software requirement specification. This is the full form SRS. It is the specification document about the application. So inside the requirement analysis, we can identify what can be tested, what kind of functionality we can test, what kind of test cases, test scenario we can prepare against that particular field or particular screen or particular application. Here also we can prepare the RTM. Now, RTM means requirement traceability matrix. Here, all the requirement of the applications are added inside the requirement traceability matrix. When we are going to do end-to-end testing, that time requirement traceability matrix plays the main role. Based on that requirement traceability matrix, we are going to test the application. It helps to validate all the functionality of the each and every individual field of the application. There we can discuss with business analysis and developers to clarify the doubt. If suppose you are testing any kind of application and if you got any kind of a small doubt or small bug or small unclear requirement, that requirement we can clear with the BA or developers. As part of the requirement analysis, we will have requirement traceability matrix, which I have explained right now, and feasibility reports, like application feasibility reports, like which things are working and which things are not working, which task you have performed, that thing, that couple of things like RTM and feasibility reports that are done as part of the requirement analysis. Here I want to add small example like if login functionality is required, QA nodes should be positive test cases and negative test cases QA needs to perform. Positive test cases means like correct username and correct password, and negative test cases means wrong password. So with the both positive and negative test cases, testers can create this kind of a test data or test kind of test scenarios as part of the requirement analysis. Now let's move to the next phase, which is the test planning. Inside the test planning, the main goal is create a roadmap or blueprint for the testing. So inside the test planning, what activity we are performing, we are defining the testing objectives, scopes, and strategies. Objectives means like if suppose you are preparing the test cases for the login functionality. So with positive and negative, that is the one objective. Which story we have given, that is the one as objective. What is the scope of testing? Login functionality is the major functionality. So how much scope it required, or how much deeply we can test that login feature, that is decided inside the scope. And what are the strategies? Strategies means like what kind of positive scenarios, what kind of negative scenarios we can go, and how much bugs we can identify against that login page. So our application will be more flexible inside the production environment. So these are the strategies. Decide tools like if suppose you are using manual testing, then Jira, or if you are using performance testing, then JMeter, or if you are going for the automation testing like that time you are using Selenium, BDD, Cucumber, TestNG, this kind of tools. And if you are using some Pega kind of application, then you require Pega tools. So there are different tools. Salesforce testing unit, Salesforce admin, this kind of accesses, or mainframe testing. Then Playwright is the one of tool. Yeah, so likewise we can decide the tools. And inside the test planning, suppose one application came for the testing. So that time how much work we will have as part of the application, how much complexity of that application, it will be take time or not. Considering this all of things, what are the story points given for that particular application? What is the developer size of that particular application? Based on the calculation, based on the all the things, considering all the things, we are assigning the testers for and the role of the testers. Then we can estimate time, cost, and resources. This point I have covered as part of the assigned testing and role. So we have 2 weeks generally time for the one sprint, and in that sprint only we need to complete the testing. Cost means like what are the story points required if suppose any regression bug we have reported. So there the developers can add the story points cause regression bugs needs to add the story points. Yeah. And after that resources like how much resources required for the uh, testing of the particular application. Then we can create and approve the test plan document. Okay, once we can create test plan document, then we can review it and we can send it for the BA for the approval purpose. They can give the LGTM like looks good to me, and they can review it and they can give the approve. Then we can proceed with for the next phase. But here inside the test planning, we will have approved test plans and effort estimation reports. These two deliverables we need to cover for the going to the next step, which is the test case development. So let's mm, take one example. As part of the test planning, we can decide how many testers are needed. I think I have covered this point. What type of testing, whether manual or automation, we can decide it as part of test planning. What the testing timeline? So how much time we have? 2 weeks or 4 weeks time we will have. Based on that print timing, we are do the estimation of the timeline. So now let's move forward with the third phase, which is the test case development. So the main goal of the test case development, write how to test each functionality. Here we can decide the test cases with the steps, input data, and expected result. Whatever we have planning done as part of the test planning. Based on that planning, we are tried the test cases and we can prepare the input data, we can prepare the test data and expected results. So we can write the test cases. But yeah, here I can give just overall upper level explanation about the test case sheet after this execution of this 3 points. So next point is prepare the test data. Okay, here also we can prepare the test data. I have explained this point as part of this point. First point. So suppose you are on the login page. So sample username or sample password or any um, name, last name, middle name, any ID. This kind of a data definitely we need while testing of the application. So these are the sample data. What is the these are the test data we required while the testing of the application. Then we can review and approve the test cases, and we can automate repetitive test cases if needed. See, here I am going to explain upper level explanation about the test case sheet. In the test case sheet, we will have test case ID, then we will have test, uh, then we will have story number, then we will have story name, then we will have story objective or scenario, then we will have scenario number, then we will have uh, test steps, then we will have test steps description, then expected result, actual result, pass and fail. These are the columns we will have as part of the test case sheet. I will show how to write test cases in the upcoming videos. But for now, just keep in mind these are the columns available in the test case, which is very helpful for writing the test cases. So, as part of the test case development, we are preparing test cases sheet, test data sheet, and automated scripted if we are using any automation framework like BDD Cucumber. Based on that, we are preparing the test script using Java, JavaScript, any language like Python, Java. So here, let's take one example like step. As I mentioned, we are having test step description. So step one, enter the correct credentials. Step second is click on login. Expect result. User should see the dashboard page. This should word be mandatory. I will explain while covering the test case it related videos. Now, after completing the test case development, our next point is test environment setup. We have completed the test scripting. Now we will have the idea about the scenarios and flows of the application. Once the code available for the QA for the testing purpose, that time we need to set up our environment. So here we can prepare the system where tester tests will be run, where testers can start the testing. What are the activity as part of the environment setup? We can set up the required hardware and software. We can install OS, database, and browser. We can configure the test data and network access. And we can run the smoke test and confirm the environment is working. So now see, once the development is done and the developer push the code in main branch and they push code in QA environment for the testing purpose, that time we need to log into the application. We can decide whether Mac we can use or whether Windows we can use or any operating system. We need to start mobile testing. This kind of a testing we can decide. We can set up the environment. Then we can try to log into that particular application with our credential. That time we need to access because we are login first time. That time we are definitely need access about the particular application. We can take access for that application. Then once that we get application access, we can prepare our test data which we have prepared in previous stage. That's the data we are using, and we can go forward into the application. And we can run the smoke test. Smoke test is the one concept of manual testing. I will explain bit inside the smoke test. But see, smoke test is the upper level testing with the major functionality once the code pushed in the QA. Now, just keep in mind, smoke test is the upper level testing once developer push the code in QA. QA checks the major functionality. For example, login button, then next, back, save, create, search. This kind of major functionality they are taking as part of the smoke testing. Smoke testing is the one kind of confirmation like whatever environment you have given, this is working fine. Now, as part of the test environment setup checklist, smoke test result. These two are the deliverables. Let's take example. We are preparing staging stage site like test.myonlineshop.com. This is the one application access with the database and all login credentials. So there we need to log in with a valid username and password, and there you need to use any Windows system or Mac system or Linux system or any mobile application. Over there, you need to use the credentials or smoke testing report. These kind of things we need to start at the initial level and upper level. That is nothing but a smoke test result and environment setup checklist. Now let's move to the next phase is text execution. So here we can run the test and find the defects. This is the setup thing we are done as of now. Now we need to go each and every page, and in that as well we need to go for each and every field of the application, field of each pages. Inside that you can test the application with the with the base of RTM, business requirement document, business requirement specification, and user story. Based on that all document, you are going to test the application, and we are validate the all validation rule which is given in the BRD and requirement traceability matrix. We are checking the all the positions of the application, all position of the fields available in on the page, any page like login page or home page or check product page or card page or payment page. Everything, whatever pages we will have, where exactly field should look like that things also we can taken care. We can take care of any minimum uh, small defect or uh, uh, any blocker kind of defect. This kind of the defects and errors we can taken care inside the test execution. We can execute the test cases like manually or automate using automation. We can record the actual result. We can compare the actual versus expected result. We can log the defect into the bug tracking tools like Jira or TaskFlow. We can retest for fixed defects and do the regression testing. So these are the activity performed as part of the test execution. So we can execute the test case, whatever test cases we have written. Suppose you have written 30 scenarios and all 30 scenarios you need to execute once the code available. There we can check the actual result in the application. What application gives the response? Whether that response meets criteria with the expected result. If suppose you have written 30 scenarios, out of 30, 28 scenario meets the correct criteria whatever given by the client, but two are mismatching. So that is the defect. That two defect we can log on the board like Jira or TaskFlow, and developer can take care about the defect, and then developer gives the fixes about the defect, and we can start the retesting, and based on that retesting result were taken care of about the defect, and we can do the regression testing using the document. We can do the end-to-end testing. We can do regression testing and end-to-end testing after the any kind of bugs fixing. I will explain about the retesting, end-to-end testing, regression testing as part of the testing type in the upcoming videos. But here you can see about the deliverables. So as part of the test execution, we need to do the defect reports, update the RTM with the test status, and test results logs. This kind of deliverables we'll have. Defect report, we can maintain the defect report, updated RTM with the test status. So whatever status we will have, as I mentioned, 30 out of 30, 28 is passed, the 2 is failed. So that status we need to maintain, and test result log, like whatever result we will have, that result we need to keep, maintain, as well as we need to report the bugs. So these are the deliverables as part of the test execution. And now this is the one example like add to cart button doesn't work. Tester raise the bug, developer fix the bug, and tester retest. This process I have explained above, but this is given example of the add to cart. Now last phase. Last phase is test closure. We need to close the cycle test STLC. The as part of the test cycle closure, we have main goal is wrap up testing and share the result. So activity here activity should be prepare the test summary report, analyze the test matrix like defect density, pass fail report, conduct the retrospective meeting, and discuss improvement. Achieve all the test artifacts and features reference. So here we can create the test summary report. We need to send the sprint closure or QA sign off mail to our BA or developers, like whatever things we have covered as part of this testing, as part of the sprint testing. Thus, there we can highlight the defect, reported defects, cover the test cases, return test cases, how much got passed, how much got failed, how much got in not starting phase, how much in progress. This kind of things we can do as part of this closure cycle. Here, deliverables means like test closure report, lessons learned documents, and metrics dashboard. So whatever QA things like bug status, test case status, test execution status, that comes in the metric dashboard. Lesson learned by document, we can do the retrospective and etc. things as part of the clear test closures reports means like whatever bugs, whatever scenarios are failed or passed, that is the closure comes under the closure report. And this is the one example. Like suppose we have 300 test cases executed, out of that 250 passed, 40 failed, 10 blocked, 15 defects still open. So this kind of report we need to send as part of the QA sign up or sprint closure. Now, entry and exit criteria is the one of the point of the testing lab cycle. So here phases requirement analysis like requirement available. Entry criteria should be in requirement available. Exit criteria will be based on the available requirement. Requirement traceability matrix should be created. Test planning entry criteria is requirement analyzed and exit criteria is test plan be approved. Like here we can tester should analyze the requirement first and the output of that we tester should give the test plan approved. Test case development we need test plan approved and based on that approved test plan we can prepare the test cases and data ready. Then we need to make a test environment setup. So that time we need to uh, require the infrastructure should be available and output should be environment ready and smoke test passed. So environment should be ready and whatever upper level testing should be done and it should be passed. Test execution means like build the deployed, whatever things developed as part of that sprint should be deployed in the QA and output should be all test cases executed and bugs are verified. Output should be all the test cases which we have written, that test cases should be executed against the application and if any reported bug is there, that bug should be fixed and test closure. So in the test exit entry criteria should be testing should be complete and exit criteria will be closure reports signed off. So here we can QA sign off or sprint closure report should be sent to the BA or PA or developers. So these are actually checkpoints to ensure no phase starts or end too early. And in STLC, we will have we seen this is about the manual, but in the automation we are follow the following STLC. Automation means like we can use the tools like Selenium, TestNG, VDD, Cucumber to run tests automatically. That helps us to save time, increase the accuracy, and improvement. It is based for the regression testing. Like suppose we have reported one bug for the username, and there is one scenario is failing, but we have written five scenarios. We need to check the other four scenarios cause the bug reported for that particular field. That field we have created five scenario. One scenario is getting failed, but four are existing scenario, right? So that four scenario we need to run again. So that time it take time. So that regression scenario we can run by the automation. Then smoke and sanit testing, like suppose any development is done. So that time upper level testing is smoke and sanit testing. That testing can done by the automation testing as well. And repetitive scenario, like suppose every time we need to log into the application, right? So that time this is the repetitive scenario. So that scenario we can do as per the automation testing. Benefit like 70 to 80% bug from faster. Because suppose you have 300 scenarios. Out of 300, we have reported 200 scenario as a automation. So once deployment happen, we can run just all the 200 scenarios. So out of 200, suppose 10 scenario got failed. It failed because there is a issue occurred in the flow. So there we no need to go manually. It will take the screenshot and automatically it will run the all 200 scenarios. So it just send report and there based on the reports we have decide like this is the not expected and we can directly identify the defect. So it will reduce the time, it will reduce the manpower and it will identify 70 to 80% bug faster. 20% less than total testing effort. Like we need no need to give that much effort and 40% time and cost saving for the large project. Suppose any large project, there are few multiple scenarios are repetitive. If we do automation testing for that, so it is cost and time saving as well as uh, it will reduce the man uh, um, mm, mm, manual testing efforts in the large project. Also, we have next point is STLC in Agile and CI/CD. So in Agile, testing happens in short sprint like 2 to 4 weeks. Developers and testing work together in parallel. Continuously integration. CI/CD tools like Jenkins automatically run the test cases when new code is added. So here CI/CD is the way to deploy the test scripts or deploy the newly changed commitment in the main branch. So that time in CI/CD, when we do the automation, it will reduce the time. And while the pushing or merging the code in the main branch, it will do the testing of the application, and there it will find the automatically bug. Helps us to uh, finding the bug within a short time before the pushing to the production environment. There we have sprint timing for the 2 to 4 weeks. It will based on the project requirement. The benefit like faster feedback, fewer production bugs, and continuous quality improvement. So these are the STLC in Agile and CI/CD. Now there are a couple of points left. Like one is important of STLC matrix. Like matrices like test coverage, like how much of the software is tested. Defect density, like number of bugs and features we have reported. Pass percentage. In QA sign up, we need to give the percentage of the pass test cases and fail test cases. Defect resolution, like also we need to uh, gi- uh, look about the time taken for the bug fixes. So these are the metrics show how effect your testing process is. And last one is common problems and best practice in the testing. So problem like testing starts too late. So we can ask for the developer for the early release and we can start the testing early. Unclear requirements, so we use RTM and clarify with the BA. Whenever we are creating the RTM, that time we need to clarify with the BA. We need to check all the data is correctly mapped up with the application. Not enough testers. Sometimes due to the high sprint bandwidth or high story point bandwidth, we required much time for the testing. So that time we need to manage the resources. Too much manual work. So if suppose any application having repetitive and regression and some kind of sanity testing flows or this kind of flows are there, so that time we can use the automation for the reducing the manual efforts. And last one is poor communication. So that time we are use the Jira and Confluence for the collaboration. The main thing is we should have to collaborate with the developers. See, communication is the best key as point of the testing perspective. Tester needs to communicate with the developers and BA. Then and then only our application flexibility will be high. Whenever you are going to report small and less margin bug to the developer, that helps us to understand about the bugs and will it is increasing our application flexibility. So communication is the best thing. When we think about the testing, about the positive and negative scenario, that time our application will be very flexible. And when we do more thinking on that, you will get multiple scenarios against that particular field. So whenever you are going to test any kind of application, just take the point wise information about the requirement. Keep this all point in your mind. Decide how much scenario we can prepare on that. Decide out of that scenario how much scenario we can go for the automation and how scenario we can use manually. So when we think like that way, you will get idea about the application, idea about the positive scenarios, idea about the negative scenarios. So these are the things testers need to keep in mind while testing the application. So I hope whatever explanation I have given, that all explanation is in very simple English language and in the understandable form. So that's it for the today's topic. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. See you in the next video with the new topic. And uh, in last video, I have explained about the SDLC, and this video I have created for the STLC. So please refer previous videos. And currently, we are going through the manual testing. We are planning to cover manual testing concepts as soon as possible because we have to move forward technical concept like Java and automation testing. So that thing will become in upcoming videos. So please stay connected, and thank you so much for uh, today's session. And I would request you please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon for the getting early notification for the newly posted videos. And please like to the videos. That's it for today. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Thank you.